Well, it's remarkable. We're now in the 16th year of the 21st century, 2015. And if we look back to 1999, I was asked as a forecaster, what will happen in the 21st century? And there were these mega trends, you know, the 5 mega trends, or 10 or 15 or 20 mega trends, but the 5 mega trends that were striking me and getting into my attention were, and still are, globalization, typical for the 21st century, digitization, typical for the 21st century, standardization, typical for the 21st century, the graying of society, typical for the 21st century, and the environmental question. Everything about environment, about sustainability, etc., etc. The world is absolutely en péril. And these were 5 major mega trends. That would absolutely be the case in the 21st century, the first years of the 21st century. Now in 2015, we look back in the first 7th, we are now 1/7 of the 21st century already consumed. We look back for 16 years ago, 1999. And now we see globalization is there. Everyone is talking about the BRIC countries, even more. We're talking about the BRICS and next 11 countries. Brazil, Russia, India, Indonesia, China, South Africa, South Korea, Turkey, and 11 other countries. Malaysia, the Philippines, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Nigeria, Tanzania, Kenya, Chile, Argentina, Peru, and Mexico. These are the BRICS, the next 11. In those countries, we saw the last years an economic growth with 8, 9, 10% each year. But still, we see also this counter trend in the Western, or formerly known Western part of the world. We see this craving for local stuff. People are getting also, consumers, citizens, even managers, are a little bit afraid of the outsourcing of our jobs to the BRICS, the next 11 countries. And there we see this fear turning into protectionism, you know, the protecting our heritage. The local produce, local stuff becomes valuable today. You see it in every sector in the industry. You look at the catering, the food sector. In the food nowadays, it's not like in the beginning of the 21st century about molecular gastronomy. It's about the local food. You know, it's about Nordic mat, which means local food in Danish, and not about el bulli, which is molecular gastronomy. Why is that? Because people want to have some kind of control on what is happening. And if globalization is indeed happening and growing even more and more, people get a little bit the feeling of inferiority. And they want to take back control. And therefore, we are now seeing a lot of investments in local produce, in local industries, even the start-up industry. Everybody is talking about these learning startups. Is about local produce, local ideas, local entrepreneurship, etc., etc. So the local anti-trend is also there. And now we have the balance between the two. The globalization leads to localization. And it's not only in terms of industry or production, but also in terms of mentality. Look back for 15 years ago. Look to Europe. Look to the northern part of Europe, Scandinavia, Holland. These countries were absolutely ultra-libertine, liberal, open, global-oriented. If you look today to Scandinavia and to Holland, you see a rather closed community, closed in terms of protectionism. A lot of extreme right-winged ideas. are part of Holland and Scandinavia. This was absolutely something that couldn't happen to Scandinavia and Holland. And today yet, the most popular political party in Holland is an extreme right-winged party. Look at Scandinavia, look at Sweden, look at Denmark, look at Norway. You see a lot of extreme right-winged ideas in these countries. So the protectionism is also, I believe, an idea against the globalization. We're afraid that the globalization, also the influences from our, well, from other faith systems, religions in a way, are hurting our core values, our heritage. And this means that today the feelings about local is getting more and more attention. And therefore also that the large, uncontrollable mega systems and giga systems are asking for a counter trend in terms of small entities, local, the convivial groups, you know, neighborhoods becoming more valuable again these days. So this is happening. Globalization leads into a counter trend, localization. But standardization leads to the idea that people want more and more unique stuff, not predeterminated, but stuff made by hands or something unique, something for you, fingerprinted, not by means of personalization computers and algorithms, but something that is thought of and made for you specially. We see this happening in standardization in smaller villages, also in Belgium and Holland and Western Europe. We see in the smaller villages now, since the beginning of the 21st century, popping up, it's not the concept of pop-up, but popping up standardized chains, you know. This was only the case for the large cities, you know. We had the large cities having the large chains of American stores or German or Dutch or British or French chains, clothing chains, etc., etc. And now we see these chains also popping up in small villages. We see a Kruidvat, a Hema, a Blokker in the smaller villages. Smaller villages 15 years ago were about small specialized stores, not chains. Now we see the chains coming in these villages. But look at the cities. More and more cities now see a large number of specialty stores coming over because people want to escape from the standardized. It gives them a feeling of belonging. The problem is if you buy stuff at, with all respect, Gap or C&A, etc., there is the fear of having the same clothes you wear as someone else, your neighbor may wear. It's not unique anymore. Standardization, globalization, digitalization. Well, the digital evolution has now come to an end, not to an end in the way it stops. There is no pendulum having reached the ultimate position and then going back to the alternative side, the opposite side. It's not longer the pendulum going from left to right to left. It's going about a double pendulum going left and right at the same time. The technology is going up, up, up and again, but these communicating vessels, you know, at the same time we see that once technology is going up, 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 the craving for everything except technology is also going up. People love to escape technology since they are working and living and playing with screens day in, day out. And we have to understand that technology will never replace love or emotions or empathy. Computers predict. We've seen the last 4 or 5 years the rise of the big data. It's not longer the big data, it's the huge data these days. And the giga systems are using these huge big data to understand consumers, or users, and to predict when the user will put another demand. Anticipatory delivery is now coming into our society. That a company is delivering you something you haven't ordered yet, but your history is that you will order it within a few weeks. And anticipatory means giving it faster than your shadow to you. This is happening thanks to algorithms. But that is also making people a little bit scared, a little bit fearful. Technology is entering into my system and it's taking over control. And the first law in my job as being a psychologist is also the first law in economics and the first law in biology. And that first law is what becomes scarce becomes valuable. So escaping technology leads to the feeling of being connected, not in a digital way, but like someone said, there is no Wi-Fi in the forest, but come inside the forest and you will feel connected with nature, which is another kind of connection. So this kind of longing, craving for everything except technology is a logical consequence of too much screens and bits and bytes that are influencing our lives. So the digitization or the digitalization or the technology growth is also leading to escaping technology. The graying of society. Look at the 50 and 60 somethings today. Most of the 50 plus people are baby boomers. 2/3 of all 50 plus people are born after the Second World War. Is that graying? No. They are absolutely everything except gray. They want to escape the idea of gray. Today the baby boomers, now 50 somethings and 60 somethings, are having the mentality of youth, which isn't gray anymore. Say to something, he or she is 60 and you're 60 plus or you're a senior, and you may risk your arm being broken because they don't like the idea of gray. And I have understood the last 10, 15 years that the baby boom generation, the sex, drugs and rock and roll generation, are people who want to die young, but as late as possible. So dying young as late as possible means there is no graying anymore. Yeah, there is graying, 70 plus. But it's a small amount of the total population. It's a small amount of the 50 plus generation. So what's going on? Localization instead of globalization, not instead, but next to globalization. Standardization leading to the unique stuff, to the handcrafted, personal made, fingerprinted stuff. The standard, the digitalization or digitization leading to escaping the digital stuff, to a kind of digital diet, digital detox. And the graying leads into the false perception of not becoming older anymore. Sociologists from Great Britain are talking about the flat age. Once 50, you stay 50. So 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. The flat age. Not talking about graying anymore. It's the typical mentality of the sex, drugs and rock and roll generation. And then we have the fifth, sustainability. And the damage done by men to nature. Well, it's the only global trend still there and still growing. There is no alternative. There is no counter trend to that one large mega trend we've talked about in 1999 and still there in 2014 without a counter trend. We see, of course, the last 5 to 10 years in society, in the industry, the urge of transparency and authenticity. And it's not a trend like some magicians sitting together and say, well, we're now in 2008 or 2009, let's make up a new trend. Authenticity, transparency. Now it's the consequence of the social media effects of the last 10 years, since social media started in 2004, becoming relevant in 2007, 2008, 2009, also in the low countries. A lot of people are using social media as an industry or an organization, as the state, as a nation, as a social profit, non-profit or profit company towards consumers, end users, towards citizens, towards your internal clients, your co-workers, your employers, your employees, I mean. We see that you ought to, you need to be transparent and authentic. Otherwise, you get digitally killed. People are now having the power of reaction. You know, there was this trend 5-6 years ago named the conversation management trend. It's about that you have to manage conversations. As a leader, as a decision maker, it's not longer being the king on top of the mountain, but being in the center of the circle with 360 degrees management orientation, conversation orientation. So you need to talk with everyone around you. Not looking down, but looking 360 degrees around you. 360 degrees, it's your nearest employee, it's all the other employees, it's the stakeholder, it's the shareholder, it's your competitor, it's the end user. You need to be available in a one-on-one mode, communication mode, with all people concerned, linked to your company or your organization. This is the conversation management trend. 360 degrees, as a psychologist I say, no, it's not 360 degrees, it's 361 degrees. It's not only talking to all people around you, but also talking to yourself, into the mirror. The 361st degree is very important also. It's about contemplation and reflection. So conversation management means that you have to say things directly to people, not by means of traditional advertising. We know about advertising. It's even accepted, tolerated that advertising is storytelling with a blink of the eye. You know, it's not that true. But using social media or corporate communication and saying stuff not being correct or right, then immediately you may expect a reaction. Social media will absolutely search for what you have said and confront you with what you've said as a company. If it's not true, or if you're lying, the viral working of social media will destroy you. So you can't otherwise be a company, be an organization, than being as truthful, honest, transparent, open as possible. Otherwise, you only have one person who can say this isn't correct, since I have the proof, and then you're out. So it's the urge of being transparent and authentic now happening. And it gives me, more than ever, the idea that social media are powerful weapons for the lowest in the food chain, if you know what I mean. They can react now, because it's leveled, it's 360 degrees horizontal orientation, with all kinds of people in your organization. It's the boss more or less on your height, so you can hurt him. The boss is not longer the king on the top of the mountain. The mountain difficult to climb up to. So this is happening. So authenticity, purity is now something that is obvious. And you see that also. Well, I'm working for the Belgian broadcasting company, the VRT, public broadcasting. And we've seen the last 15 years an interesting evolution in terms of cookery programs. And this evolution is a perfect metaphor for what is happening in real society. 15 years ago, there was a very popular television program named 1,000 Seconds. And it was a clown cook with another cook saying, we can prepare a meal within 1,000 seconds. And it was absolutely a hit on television. But it is not honest. You can't cook within 15 minutes or 1,000 seconds. Everything, of course, for the television set was already mise en place, and no one concerned about the cleaning up afterwards. And everything was already with 2 persons there, and people were running very fast. Well, we accepted that kinds of programs, television programs, in the beginning of the 21st century. 5 years later, there was on a commercial television chain in Flanders a program with a guy having a real chef, having the white uniform and the toque on his head, giving some lessons to people, to men how to learn. It was the beginning of the trend that men started to become hobby chefs, hobby cooks. And he was absolutely the trainer. And he behaved like a trainer, like a professor. And he was absolutely looking down to people and saying, no, you woman, you're absolutely wrong. You have to do it this way. And in the end, we all saw on television the 3 lessons learned in that cookery, television cookery class. But it was very strict. It was very one direction oriented. You had to listen to the prof, to the teacher, and to be silent. It didn't work. It did work perfectly. It did work perfectly, but didn't work any longer in 2010. And we participated in a brainstorm for the public television company. We had to have the answer to the very popular show with this Piet, the name of the cook, on the commercial chain. And the reaction was also linked to the 21st century, AD Anno Domini 2010. It was not longer being tolerated that a chef, cook, teacher was looking down, but it had to be something informal. We've learned the principles of cooking, and now it's about authenticity. It's about, and literally said, it may not longer be a guy of 50 years old. It has to be the boy next door, not with a uniform in white, but the boy next door with a wrinkled shirt. Because literally, the wrinkled shirt gives an idea about authentic. It's someone among us. It's the boy next door. It's my friend. So identification is perfect. And what he is creating is stuff very simple, but also referring to the past. Nostalgia is becoming important. And the thing is, literally we said to him, every 2 minutes, well, between brackets, every 2 minutes you have to use the word grandmother. Bomma in Flemish. because grandmother did it this way, grandmother did it like it, I do it today. It was nice to have a meal with grandmothers, with her nostalgic potatoes, etc., etc. So the storytelling of the boy next door, reminding us of fearless past, was part of the television program. And everybody looked at the television program and bought the books. So Exit Piet and Hello Jeroen. And now, and this is very interesting, every 5 years, it's like the 5 years each, 2000 seconds, 2005, SOS Piet, which was the name of the television program, 2010, Dagelijkse Kost, which was the name of the program with Jeroen, with the guy next door, and now 2015, it's a woman named Pascal Nasens. And not longer nostalgia, but talking, and nostalgia means, of course, well, food with a nice bite, not that healthy. And now 2015, it's about healthy foods. It's about raw food. It's about pure food. Literally, the company of this Pascal is named Pure. And her idea is not about the nostalgic fat and sugar kind of food, like grandmother's food in those days, but pure vegetables, without any extras from the industry. It's about food, vegetables coming right out of your personal garden. It's about healthy foods. And this is interesting to see, that in society also, we're going from this non-authentic storytelling, fast-paced cooking, into slowing down but listening to the teacher, into no teacher anymore, it's on the same level, the boy next door and authenticity and nostalgia, now into purity and raw. And if you see that metaphor, you understand absolutely the trends in society as such.